you're all doing well. Let's see who comes and joins us this morning for our coffee clutch. It almost sounds like cat coffee clutch. That's interesting. Maybe that's where coffee clutch comes from. Let's see. Hello, Davina. Good afternoon. This one should, this episode should be really clear because it's on the computer. So hopefully we'll see a Facebook Live chat together. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Ian. Well, apply the appropriate hour for where you are. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Audrey. Great questions. I'll get to them later, Audrey. Hope you're all doing well. I think we should have some theme music in this. What do you think? No? Some theme music. So like, we start using the Montien Storyteller. We have our own theme music that we should start using. Wow, Davina, really getting older? It's only been 2 weeks. Well, actually, 2 weeks in Corona time is like a month. So, yes. Hey, Mark. Wow, you're at work. Well, then I'm glad to be able to spend some time with you at work. Thank you for joining us. Chris Mendoza. Good morning. Chris informs me that we might be live streaming this on YouTube as well. So if that's the case, then check it. You can always check it out on YouTube. All right, so let me get started since some of you are already here, and we'll get started with the usual. So hello to everyone in the family, the tribe, darling, the little ones, the big ones of the tribe, my sister, and just all of you in the mob who are here and now. Good morning, today. We have our YouTube channel, which is really awesome. And please go over there and like and subscribe and share the channel. Virtually the people in the mob. A tenth of that on our YouTube channel. So share the word. We're gonna start promoting it more in the mob, but go like the YouTube channel. Same thing for Instagram. Now I know Instagram I haven't put a lot of content on because I've been busy doing other things, but same thing. Go like our Instagram page at Bitten Peaches. So you'll find it. It's easy. So go like that. More, and just as important is our Zazzle store, which is blowing up. I mean, Dolly has added so much stuff to it that it's looking fantastic. So go to the Zazzle store. The link is in the pinned post in the mob. Thank you, Malcolm, for that. And go get some swag. Dolly's constantly adding to it. So go get some swag. Get yourself a skateboard deck, even if you don't ride skateboards. um, good morning, Cynthia. Hello, Darren. Good morning slash afternoon. Oh yeah, wait. I'll get to that in a moment. Good morning, Laura. So yes, Dolly reminds me that someone, we don't know who you are, someone from the UK mob or reader got a skateboard deck. So if you're in the mob and you got a skateboard deck, you purchased a skateboard deck from the Zazzle store, please send us a picture of you with your skateboard deck. Because when Dolly first made skateboard decks, I was like, really? But apparently someone wants to write a skateboard deck with an image. Do you know which one was purchased? Which image? With an image of peaches, of course. That makes a lot of sense. Good morning, Laura. Hello. If I know, Davina, you're not on Instagram, but if you're on IG on Instagram, then please go follow us on Instagram. Oh, this, what are we calling it? The lovers. That's what it's called. So Dolly created the lovers mugs for Michigo and Simon. I think they have like heart-shaped handles, and they fit together. Really, go get them. For the Michigo fans, Davina, go get your Michigo cup. Um, I think the Zaza store does post to the UK, Davina. I think it's just worldwide. It's on the internet. So yes, I think it does. Check the link and see. That'd be a great idea because Malcolm was the one who was talking, who asked about the link, and I think he's based in the UK. So, good morrow. That might be a better greeting. Who was saying that? We were Jenny. Good morrow. I don't know. But then how does that cover evening? Does that cover evening, Jenny? If I say good morrow, we'll see. Spearfish, South Dakota. Clearly, I don't know enough of this country because I've never heard of spearfish. But welcome, Joanne. Hello, Isabel. Hello, Mary. Hello, Joy. Welcome. Good morning. Awesome, Jenny. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. If you can order some mugs and order a frame, get the frame first for sure. I'm glad you're able to watch in the empty floor, Isabel. My sister is an essential worker, and she's like one of the few who has to be at work, but the floor she is empty. So I always kid her that she's in the empty floor. It's like a horror movie. Yes, Davina. See, you get your husband the Chi cup, and you get the Simon cup, and you can put your cups together. Look at that. Awesome. Dolly says good morning. Dolly, say good morning.
Oh, good morning.
She's the disembodied voice over there. Oh wait, we have our Peaches. Okay, hold on. Peaches has joined us. We need like a little platform for Peaches. I want to feel like my shoulder. Yeah, there goes Peaches. Awesome. Let's see. Good morning, Quentin. Welcome. Okay, I will look into it, Jenny, because I like good morrow, so I don't have to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It just says good morrow wherever you are. That's good. I like that. Laura wants to know if the mugs are on the heavy side. No. They're solidly made, but they're not on the heavy side. All right. So speaking of mugs and gifts, so my Father's Day. I'm wearing one of the Father's Day gifts because I said I would. So this is one. It's an awesome Star Wars shirt, and one of the one of the tribe got me this little mug. So to give you a comparison, this is my coffee mug. This is the other mug. But wait, because this wasn't large enough, I went and got out and got this mug. And of course, I decorated it. It's a Bubba mug, right, Bubba? It's a Bubba mug. But this is 52 ounces. They finally made a mug my size. So that's my current mug right now. Isabel wants to know if she can have peaches. No, you can't have peaches. You have 4 pits. You cannot have peaches. So, what would be a non-time specific greeting? Good day, because that kind of covers everything, right? Good morrow, good day. Jenny, yeah, it's a small mug now. This is my water mug now, because there's no. This is 52 ounces. If I made 52 ounces of Death Wish, it was like this is like a week and a half of Death Wish. No, and I might be tempted to drink it in a few days. So no. Yes, I look happy with my mugs, Dolly. Thank you. That's a kettle. Well, yeah. Morning, Mark. Oh yeah, you saw the coffee. Yeah, Mark saw the coffee mug upgrade. I'm like, it's the one that actually fits my hand. Like it works. This one, it kind of fit my hand, but yeah, I had to kind of. It was like a little. It felt like it was gonna break at some point, so I said no. And there you go. There you have it. All right, so let me get to what is happening. Yeah, Darren is like a dumbbell. If I fill it up with sand, maybe I could use it for working out. Okay, so Dragon's Impasse, the latest Badlands PPD book, is live. So go get your copy, and don't forget to leave a review. But get a copy if you haven't already. It's out. I believe it's $4.99, but it's also, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's on KU because John puts all his stuff on KU. So get your copy. and let's promote that book. Let's get it out there. Um, he's already working on Dragons, the next Badlands PPD book, and it's going to be a lot of fun because I've been consulting with him, but he's really running with that one, book 4 and 5. A lot of some awesome twists and turns that I cannot tell you, but it's going to go awesome. It's that story is fantastic. Let's see. Jenny says my hubby has a mug that size does matter that holds a gallon. Wow, I'm close because 52 ounces is only short of a gallon. So yeah. See, good morrow is good morning, Linda. Yes, you're right. Oh, that's right. But Davina, are they holding races now, or because yeah, I think because of the virus they may not have to. They may everything might be closed. So I don't know if they are. Joy says I have to alternate arms to keep my arms even. Yeah, I have to like switch here and then come back. Just drinking is a workout. Yeah, oh, definitely, for sure. So pick up Dragons and Pass. It's important. It supports the book. It supports me and John, and we get to write more stories. So that's always good. And don't forget to leave a review. Also, don't forget to leave a review on Blood Ascension and Blood Betrayal, which is currently live. So leave your reviews out there. And Blood Rule should be. Well, I'll get to that in a moment. Dark Glass. Excuse me. The art will be open on the 17th. So if you're not in the art group and you want to shred that book, let me know. Send a message in the mob, and I'll make sure you're in the art because the art is by invite only. And Dark Glass will be available on the 17th, which is a Friday, which is actually the next day we have our mob TV. And so it's basically 2 weeks from today. Dark Glass will be out, and I'm it's a long one because I feel like I'm halfway through, but I'm not really. But yeah, so the 17th is Dark Glass. So if you want to be in the art, let me know so I can put you in the art. What else do we have? Blood Rule, which is the third and last of Michiko's short stories, which make one book. That should be done by the end. The art should be open by the end of this month, by the end of July. So again, if you want to be in it, just be aware. I'll send notices out so when that one's ready. So we'll have two arts this month if everything goes well. Okay. Let's see. Yes. Let's see what's going on. You've got it not ready yet. Been distracted with Mortal Kombat. Darren says. Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima comes out on the 17th. So yeah. Good morning, Renee. Welcome. Oh. So Davina says there are no spectators for the races, and the F1 cars are on the track and a distanced paddock. That makes sense, yeah. I guess you could do it that way. And all the drivers are separate, obviously, since they're all in their own cars. So that should be fun. So let's see what else we have. Yeah. So don't forget to leave your reviews for Blood Ascension and Blood Betrayal, so that way it gets more. I think at 50 reviews is when it really the algorithm starts to kick in. No one really knows because it's Amazon and Amazon's very close about, especially about reviews. So, but just go leave your reviews, please. I really, really would appreciate it. Oh, great news! So, Silver Clouds, Dirty Sky, the fourth Montien Strong book. Dolly and I had a thing about is it the fourth book? Is it the fifth book? And I was like, no, it's the fifth book. I don't know why I had it in my head that Silver Clouds, Dirty Sky was the fifth book. It's not. It's the fourth book. So at some point, I just started calling it book 4 and book 5. But Silver Clouds Dirty Sky is now on audio. So if you haven't grabbed it, go get it on audio. I think if you have credits, you can get it. Also, or just let people know. I'm gonna also put a post up there, but let people know that it's on audio. And we're working on Homecoming. Welcome back, Laura. Work on Homecoming. I think we just have to approve it, and then send it. You just have to approve it, and then it's already been recorded. It's already like post production kind of thing, and so that's going to be coming up. I guess in a month. It takes 3 weeks, about a month. So Homecoming will be out in a month, and we'll catch up eventually to um, the current books. I wonder if we could do Night Warden too, at some point. You think Kevin can do Night Warden? Yeah, we'll have to get all the books on audio. Night Warden is a little different because you have Gray and Coda, and there's a lot of male female as opposed to male male voices. So we'll see. Let's see. Davina says I'll do my best to share between homeschooling a 6-year-old, being back at work until the 12th when I get made redundant, and having my usual health. Oh, that's gonna be hard, but we need your karma consciousness, Davina. So yeah, do your best. Huh? Oh. So let's okay. What else? So the next books. All right. So Dark Glass. Hopefully, after it goes to the Art on the 17th, it then goes to the next phase. The next book after Dark Glass is going to be the next Night Warden book, which is Nocturne Melody. So that'll be fun. I'll do a cover reveal, even though I have, but it was a long time ago. So I'll do a cover reveal of Nocturne Melody this week or so, and getting back into Gray and Coda's world. There's some interesting, fun stuff happening there that connects to what's happening in Monty and Strong's side. Let's see. And after that, after Nocturne Melody is Sepia. So I've got to actually read. Oh my god, I got to actually read Sepia. I mean, the story's in here somewhere, but I've got to go read book 3 so I can really get into book 4 and book 5. Oh no, I'm frozen. Am I still frozen, guys? So Isabel says, I'm not the gatekeeper. Yes, you are the gatekeeper. And I'm off, but I did run 10 miles of hills this morning. I'm just breathing right now. If you only ran 10 miles, you ran 10 miles too little because you're supposed to run an extra 10 for me. You know the deal. I lift an extra 10 pounds for you, and you run an extra 10 miles for me. What we work. That's the contract. So when you go running, you always have to add an extra 10 for me. So go back out and finish your 10. Okay? Call me and let me know when you finish the 10. All right, Davina says I should get my son to help me. You definitely should. And tell his teachers education. Exactly. Just put it under the auspices or the umbrella of educational work. And tell his teachers educational might have to gloss over a few of the word meanings. That's fine about it. Just, it's okay. Yes, Isabel. Sepia's coming. Yeah. There is only Zul. I like that one. Robert, good morning. Good day. Welcome. I have to really figure out a greeting that works for all time zones. So I gave you guys an excerpt. You guys know I'm gonna work on something a little bit noirish, which is why I'm kind of getting into some Agatha Christie and Dashiell Hammett, Chandler, Mickey Spillane, that kind of thing. Frank Miller's Sin City type of feel. So I gave you guys an excerpt, or actually the first chapter of that book. I don't even have a cover for it, so it's not gonna happen anytime soon. But don't forget to leave your thoughts on how it felt, if it's noir enough. It's set in the Montien Strong world, but Dolly made a great observation. She said it's really good to be able to see that Ramirez has other people to call besides Monty and Strong. And I told her, yeah, sometimes he needs to. It's not the end of the world type thing. It's a little bit more mundane, and so he has to be able to call other people besides the duo of destruction. So it's a different kind of point of view on the Monty and Strong world, but this is from Richard Caro's world as a Dreamwalker. So let me know. It does have a very detective, Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall type feel to it. So let me know what you guys think about that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, Linda. Linda says she's very excited about that snippet. It just came to me after a while, and I was just thinking, wow, this would be a great thing to write a story this way, because even though Montien Strong is a detective agency, they're solving cases that kind of threaten the entire city. Um, so if you look at the scope, it's Montien Strong is big picture. Division 13 is worldwide. It's like huge picture. Uh, Gray and Coda, they kind of deal with the forgotten of the city, the night, like the homeless and mages that people might have forgotten. But Richard Caro, I wanted to give a different perspective because he's not necessarily a mage, even though he has certain abilities. And so he's a different perspective on that world. It's almost like from an outsider looking in, and he's forced to deal with what happens and the fallout from being part of that world. So it's not like Simon who's entering that world and actually works and actively in that world. Richard is basically an ex NYTF officer who has this ability is called upon to jump into the world. Yeah, Sin City was great. I saw it. I liked number one more than two. I read the actual books, but I liked the movie number one more than number two. Davina, when I was a lot younger, I used to read Agatha, but it's been a long time, so I'm getting back into it. And I think she's a great. If I had to pick a teacher, Agatha would be a great teacher to have. Welcome, Craig El Dragon. Welcome. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I thought it's a good concept, and I like the way it's kind of starting. Yes, back to PC camera, Craig, because it got its act together. So we'll see. I still want to do some on the phone, and once we can get out and be more mobile, we'll start doing more mobile. Greetings, fair readers. Davina says, "How are you all on this?" And then insert month. um, yeah, I don't know. I think I have to kind of get away from the time of the day because I like to say good morning, afternoon, and evening on the mob, but I want to have just one phrase that kind of handles all of that. But good day is good day, and good evening obviously is the opposite. So I'm trying to figure out. Maybe I'll figure out something that Monty or Simon would say. Yeah, or maybe even Peaches. So we'll see about that. Oh yeah, that's right, Cynthia. Cynthia says she's going to enjoy getting a little more Ramirez. Also kept hearing the Kurgan calling his name. Ramirez! Yes. Because in the end there could only be one Cynthia. So yeah. There's a great snippet of that in the current book of Montien Strong with Highlander. So that'll be a lot of fun. There's so much stuff in my head that needs to get out. Also, speaking of that, yeah, yeah, I saw that, Craig. When you're on the phone, I have an option to bring you into the chat. So I'll have to ask Chris and see how we can do that. So speaking of the stuff that's in my head, so I put up the post about George R. R. Martin. We don't author bash, and we unless it's constructive criticism. I don't really like to talk about other authors, and so that kind of took off. And my position on that, I never read A Song of Ice and Fire, so I don't know what it's about. I mean, I got snippets from when it became a show, the whole Game of Thrones thing. But my position, and I kind of alluded to this in the in the post, is that if you're an author, you have to finish what you start. Granted, life happens. So I kind of gave the example of Jim Butcher. He went through a divorce. He went through a move. Hard to write in those circumstances. It's really hard to get your head where it needs to be so you can write because it looks easy sometimes, but it does require a certain mindset, or it requires, sometimes you're thinking through things. But my thing with George is that, and I think someone made the point in the post, is that the notoriety, I think it was Charles who said it, the notoriety of the show made him such a celebrated author that I think he got away from the actual writing. And also he got really busy because now you're attached to the show. You've got to make appearances, you've got to be here, you got to be there, and the show really took off. So, a good problem to have, but by the same token, you started with your readers, and I think the readers feel slighted now. I think they go like, hey, you started with us. They almost feel like they're abandoned because the show took off and it ended the story. So Martin is in a really tough position because HBO ended it a certain way, and even though Martin probably signed off on the way it ended because he's the writer, they took his vision, his creative vision, and kind of went in one direction, and it was, from what I understand, was different from the books. And that's why I always say, if unless you leave this plane of existence, finish your series as best as you can. And like I said, I know about this because I have Sepia Blue 2 books waiting. I have Ava James 2 books waiting. What other? I have Blur John Kane 2 books waiting. So I know what it's like. I really started realizing, hey, if you're gonna start a series, finish it. Which is why I'm writing. I'll write one thing and then I'll write a Monty Strong book. I'll write something else and I'll write a Monty Strong book. So because I'm making sure that Monty Strong gets in. I also am going back and writing everything else that I've started. So I get that position. None of them have taken off to become a movie or HBO series, and I guess that the time constraints would be considerable if and when Monty Strong becomes a Netflix original movie or series. There's a lot involved there. But I think as an author, as a writer, you have to kind of be diligent and persistent and persevere to finish the series because the readers were there before the series was there, before the movie was there. You know what I mean? Or before the television series was there. And then they feel, I think they feel slighted, or I think they feel abandoned, and that's, you don't want to do that as an author. Right. So Davina says, I think the problem is that there are certain things in the show that got slammed. If they were what he'd planned for the book, it would be pretty soul destroying. And this is what happens when, as a creative, you let them take over your creative vision. And I put this in the post. No one else can write Harry Dresden the way Jim Butcher writes it because Harry Dresden is a distillation of Jim Butcher's life, all his experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that he's gone through has gone into writing and creating that character. So someone else can pick it up and add their particular spin on Dresden, but no one's going to write it like Jim Butcher. And so, in the case of Martin, he gave it to the showrunners, and they ran with it, and they changed things, and there was a bunch of controversy over the show. But it's like you're letting someone else take over your vision. In Tolkien's case with Silmarillion, he never finished Silmarillion, but it was son that finished it. Now it's not the same thing. I mean, it's still Tolkien. It's not the same thing as J.R.R. writing it. And so I'm sure he did the best that he could, and that's as close as you're going to get his son. But it's not the same as J.R.R. writing and finishing Silmarillion. Which, if you read Silmarillion, because most people don't, most people just read the Lord of the Rings. If you read the Silmarillion, wow, it's a long, involved read. It's complicated. Linda says delays for life circumstances understandable, but I don't think that was the case with Martin. You don't think so either? Um, See, like with Jim Butcher, he had a divorce and he had to move, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that upheaval. And I also heard that a lot he was going to a lot of cons, and people say that's wrong. He should have been home writing. If he's going through a divorce and he's going through a move and he's going to the cons, like I said in the post, I said maybe he's just staying in the kind of the energy of the writing, of the books, of the characters. But maybe he really likes going to cons and he's connecting with his readers that way too. So that's another way to be out there and connect with people, especially people who love your work. You know, the people who love Harriet Dresden, some of them can be really rabid about it. So you have to be really careful about alienating a group of people. It took him 5 years, I think, since the last book to Peace Talks. But in those 5 years, if he's out there meeting people and meeting his readers, he's got 15 books prior. So a lot of people are just catching up to Peace Talks, even though a lot of people are waiting. Unlike George R. R. Martin, in the case where it's been 9 years since his last book, and most people who read the books, a lot of them saw the show, and there's a lot of discrepancy. So it's a different situation. So Audrey says somehow I don't feel sorry for Grimm. Yeah, I don't. I'm like I said, I'm ambivalent because I never read A Song of Ice and Fire. I took it as an object lesson to finish. Um, if you got 9 years, I understand life circumstances, but I also understand that if this is what you do, he's writing a history, so it's a matter of just diverting your energies. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba. Davina says, I think his mistake was letting them make the series before he finished it. Yeah, I knew that that was going to be a problem when the series caught up to the books and he hadn't written the next book. That they were going to have to go off on their own and he was going to kind of have to consult. But they were going to go right. They were going to finish the series. the series of the HBO series without a book being there to support it, and that's when things really started going. As an author, you lose momentum because now in your head the story is done, and so why should I finish it? They already finished it, and that's what it. It's not correct. I won't say that's right, but that's what it feels like, and so it does rob you of momentum. Laura asks, how many books are going to be in Montien Strong? Right now, I have 20 covers, which means 20 books so far slated, and I'm only on book 11, so another 9 books. But I think Monty and Strong is kind of evergreen, and so there'll always be a Monty and Strong book as long as I can write, or one of the spin-off of the Monty and Strong world. So, Chris says we watched the first episode of Warrior Nun last night. Made me wish for the rest of CB Blue. Chris, I watched 6 episodes with Dolly yesterday. Um, I don't want to get into too much detail. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I know it's going to get panned by the reviews because one, it's set in Spain. So a lot of people won't recognize the setting. And yes, I know setting is not as important, but it is important. But also the main actors are not known in the U.S. So like Extraction had Chris Helms, which people knew, but everyone else was kind of an unknown. Here, I think the only person you know is Cardinal Duretti, who's he's a Spanish actor, and they're great actors. All of them are great actors, but they're unknowns, and so that's gonna work against them. I liked it. I liked the concept. I know it was a comic book. I never read the comic book, but I like the concept of the Warrior Nun and the Halo. It's a great idea, and they're running with it. So we'll see. I kind of already called the antagonist when I saw what happened. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but enjoy it. It has a meandering feel in certain parts, and has big highs and big lows, right? And you sometimes you just want to smack Ava in the head, but Simon feels that way sometimes too. So, but I think overall it's a good series. I don't know if it's going to be a season 2 though. We'll see. Let's see. Who's Hail Dogging? I forgot. Hail Dog. Okay. Uh, Yeah, see, Linda says, and this is the case. So you make people wait. Like Robert Jordan's situation, he passed away before he finished the Wheel of Time, and Brandon Sanderson had to be called in to finish it. That's not a situation you want to actively promote. You don't want to take so long between books that you pass away before the series is done. That's kind of messed up for your readers. So, like Linda says, I was very patient over the many years until I hear he's pushing the Targaryen story now, which ties to another new TV show. And so kind of going in that direction. I hope I'm saying that right. Targaryens is a prequel. It's the history of what happened to Game of Thrones. So he's gone back to the and I alluded to this. I said this in the post. He's lost the momentum to be able to write the sequels, like the next 2 books. So he's gone back to the prequel because that's undiscovered territory. He could explore that and kind of you already know the story, so he's gonna go back to the origin. How did the story start? And so but there he has momentum. There he can write. Joey says, I would love to see a Montien Strong on TV. Yeah, let's get Netflix on it. We can make a Montien Strong original movie. If they made Bright and they can make Warrior Nun, they can make Montien Strong or even Sepia Blue. Craig says he watched the first 7 episodes. You beat me by one, Craig. At one point, I was like, okay, I gotta get some sleep. This is like, and then sleep. So, but I'm gonna finish it because only 4 more episodes left. We watched 6. So it's 10 episodes total. 4 more episodes. We'll finish it. And yeah. Joy says, I really like Dresden. Missed the series on TV. I thought the series on TV was cast really well, even though Murphy wasn't the blonde. I think the actress they had for Murphy was great. But Dresden was spot on. And I'm surprised that they canceled that. I wish they would bring the Dresden TV series back because it was really well done. I don't think Dolly's seen it. So, okay, we'll have to catch up on Dresden. Dresden was really good. I liked it. Craig says sometimes authors lose the want, the drive to keep writing. That's a tough one because as an author, you want to write every day, and you should as an author, but I don't like to give absolutes. You're also a human being. In many cases, you have a family. You have other give your brain a rest. And if you take on, I'm gonna write every day. I'm gonna write, 5,000 words every day. You're going to burn out. Anything that you do like that, for your body needs downtime. You need to distract it, your brain, from other things. Also, there are times when you have what we call a thorny problem, and you need to kind of resolve it. And the only way to resolve it is to engage your brain in something else, which is like destiny or something else. I'm actually, while I'm doing that, it's kind of like doing the dishes or driving the car. You're doing something that's engaging your brain, but in the background, your brain is working out these problems, and so you need to do that. But it's, yeah, Craig. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes writers are like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore, and it's tough. But I think that's where Martin is right now. I don't want to do. I don't want to finish that off. But the thing is, he has six in book seven, so we'll see. Oh, let's see. Dance of Dragons took 7 years. Wow, I didn't know that. So maybe just George writes really slow, and that's another thing. And I think what kind of brought that to light was the series, the TV show. You know. Yeah, Jenny. And see, if you go back to when before self-publishing, before Amazon, we would wait a year or two between books. Like, when did Terry Pratchett put out a book? Was it every year? Like one book a year, right? Yeah, Terry Pratchett, Sir Terry would put out one book a year, and we would anticipate that book, and I'd go to Barnes and Noble and pick it up like immediately. But it was one book a year, not one book a month. And so I think modern readers, like Jenny says, modern readers are a bit spoiled because indie authors are prolific and they write fast, and so yeah, so you get the good and the bad with that. You get a lot of good books, you get a lot of not so good books, but you get all these books fast, and that's why modern readers are like, I just want to get a book quick, quick. And you'll see people's Kindles, and they'll just fill up their Kindles because a lot of good, inexpensive books out there, and and authors write fast. All right, so let's all the stuff that goes into being is tiring. Everyone has a dolly to help. This is very true, Audrey. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into being an author that's behind the scenes that most people don't get. Like, everyone has, I won't say everyone, many people have that kind of dream of, oh, I want to write a book. Oh, I have a, when you finally sit down to write that book that's in you, you realize all of a sudden it's work. It takes, there's a lot of learning involved, and it's a steep learning curve to write well. And so I read first, the general contractor. Remember that one? Yeah, it was, that book is never going to see the light of day. So, Joy says, I will miss Montien Strong if you stop writing, but I don't intend to ever stop writing Montien Strong. So, yeah, that's going to continue. Jenny says, another author, I mean, unless the series needs it to stop. Sometimes you have to know when to stop a series too. So we'll see. It's kind of open ended. To that storyline is kind of open ended because there's so much that could happen with. It's like Watson and Sherlock and Watson. Those stories never really end because they get picked up, and then there's always something, some case to solve, and so they evolve. The characters evolve. There's always something that could happen. Jenny says, the author I read constantly just recently finished a series. It was sad but awesome. Yeah, it is, because you develop a bond with the characters, and they're real. In the sense of that you get to go on these adventures with them, and when it stops, it's like, now what am I gonna read now? I've gone through that as a reader. What am I gonna now? What am I gonna read? Audrey says should treat it more as a serial than a one story arc. Yeah, I think it's smarter as an author to treat it as a serial instead of one overreaching arc. Just a lot of stories that happen, and this is very pulpy. That's how you got these. That's why I was thinking Dashiell Hammett, Mickey Spillane, Raymond Chandler. You got these characters that go through these situations, but the characters are evergreen. I mean, people are still reading Hammett now. Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot was famous, but it wasn't just one arc; it was just a bunch of stories, and I think that's better. Right, Craig. So Craig says having a finite story arc requires a beginning, a middle, and end. So a good example of that is what Marvel did with the Avengers. You know, they created they had this almost like a 10-year plan. They started with Iron Man, then with Thor and Hulk, and they kind of they wove all these threads together into a finale, which was Avengers Endgame. So, but the characters aren't gone. That was their arc. And so it took 10 years and many movies and a lot of storytelling, but it was a definite beginning, middle, end with a lot of different tie-ins, but they wove it into one story, connected all these characters over several movies, and then had a grand finale, which is Thanos and at the end. If you haven't seen Infinite Endgame by now, um, oops. So, let's see. Davina says when Terry Pratchett knew he was going to fade, his writing changed a bit, with the books all having the feel that they could be the last. The last one definitely feels like an end, although he apparently had outlines for another six on a destroy. Yeah. So Terry's one of his last wishes was that everything after he passed away was to be destroyed. And some say that was selfish. I think it's actually pretty smart because it's his legacy. And I think he left his daughter in charge of his legacy. But
Mm-hmm.
right, it was his daughter.
Yes.
Yeah, his daughter manages his legacy. But I think it was smart because, especially Terry, Terry had a very particular brain, which sometimes I read his stuff and I'm like, wow, how did he come up with this stuff? You know? And he wanted everything destroyed because he understood that only he could write his books. Anyone else who wrote his books it wasn't gonna be another Sir Terry Pratchett. It was gonna be someone else writing Terry Pratchett's world, and it's not the same. This is not to say that there aren't other writers as talented as Terry, although I think that's a very small group. Probably Neil Gaiman is up there, but I think he was smart to have everything that wasn't published destroyed afterwards. Let's see. Craig says, whereas Mountain Strong has the possibilities. If I'm lagging a little bit, it's because you guys are writing a lot, and I want to get to everything. So I apologize if you wrote something and I'm getting to it now. Um, Craig says, whereas Mountain Strong has the possibilities of a serial TV show with a beginning, a middle, and a jump in the shark episode, which begins the end. Yeah, all television shows end. I mean, even Frasier, one of Dolly's favorites, it was like 11 seasons. At the end, it had an ending. So most TV shows end, but 11 seasons is a great run. And so Cheers was like 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Charles brothers know what they're doing when it comes to writing. Chris says, hello, Dolly. I love the Dresden Files too, Laura. I don't understand why. If you so Linda says many Dresden fans seem to pan the show, but I love it. What happens is that many of the fans of the Dresden show came from the books, but the ones who just came to the Dresden show without reading any of the books love it. Excuse me. But if you read the books and then you go to the Dresden show, you can be like, "Ugh, this is not like the books at all." And you have to be able to see both creative expressions independently of each other and see the show using the books as a source. But the show didn't stay so completely true to the to the books. I think also because of the constraints of the books. I mean, if you were to make the Dresden movie, you'd need millions of dollars just in the explosions. You have to Michael Bay it. Um, yeah, see, makes a good point. I never saw. I read all the Shannara books. I read them all except for maybe the last few. But the show I heard was a real disappointment, and it's really hard to hear the essence of the books and put it into a show. And I hear that the show wasn't that great. I didn't see it, so I really can't speak to it. But we're gonna make Shannara as a show. I said that's ambitious because the books are grand in scope. And I remember reading the Sword of Shannara twice. I read it, and I was really upset that it ended, so I reread it right after I finished it. And that book is like 700 pages, and then I read all the other Shannara stories. Because when I read it, I think it was only the Sword of Shannara was out, and so think about how long ago that was. And Cynthia says, yes, you have a life. And this is what I tell people about Jim Butcher, that he has a life. He just got remarried. I think he got and married. He has a new house. He's starting a new life. He's got two books out now because Peace Talks and the 17th one, he wrote one book and it was just too big, so they split it in half. And so, but he has a life and he's got to live his life too. If you want him to be able to write books, you got to let him have a life. Because if he doesn't have a life and he's miserable, you're not going to get any Harry Dresden. Trade off. You know, and I know we as readers are impatient. I've been waiting for Peace Talks too. But we also got to understand that, you know, authors, they have to live in order to be able to write. It's important. Jenny says, I'm going to make my husband watch Dresden now. He's cringing. He's not a fantasy fan. Don't tell him it's fantasy, Jenny. Tell him it's like a hard-boiled detective story with supernatural elements. Because it's not really fantasy, even though he's a wizard. He's not a wizard in the traditional uh, Tolkien sense, you know. Oh, Chris, I'm sorry to hear that. YouTube crashed your dinosaur computer. I'm sorry. Well, we'll continue here. We got, you know, another 25 minutes. Montien Strong has a disc world feel to it. Yeah, it can continue with different groups of characters, not necessarily a plot that will end. More character driven. I tried to do that. Obviously I didn't try to emulate Terry because who can, but I didn't want it to be locked just to Monty and Simon. I wanted it to be a world that felt large and organic, and that these characters are all operating within this world. Like even with the excerpt that I gave you yesterday, he has Caro has a conversation with Ramirez, and he references Monty and Strong. So you get the idea that this is set in the same world, but now you're going to be seeing things from a completely different perspective. And I think that's what lends the Monty and Strong world to being awesome. That it can be really broad and big. Let's see. Dolly is always wondering where you were at. Oh, yeah. Chris was streaming live. Good morning, Sweet Coco on his cell. That's cool. Jenny says my feed froze. Well, I hope you come back, Jenny. Chris says writing is hard. Yeah, it is. I used to say writing was easy until I started writing. Writing is hard. Um, Davina, that's called having kids at home. She says I find it hard enough to find time to read. Never mind trying to write to a background of sound of mommy. I just need to tell you something, and they always need to tell you something. That's just called being a mom, you know. Laura says that's why I love indie writers. They put books out fairly quickly. Yeah, indie writers the ones that I know are really prolific and really fast. Like I write slow compared to some indie writers. There are indie writers out there who write a book a month, easily, a book a month. You know. Good morning, Eileen. Welcome, Tammy. Good morning. Welcome, TK. Let's see. Yeah, Linda. See, I never watched the Shannara show. Linda said the Shannara show wasn't too good, too different from the books. I would never found interest. I had already stepped away from Terry Brooks by the time the Shannara show came out because I was busy writing at that point. But if they had just done the Sword of Shannara, maybe I would have watched it. But they made a whole series, and then I felt that it wasn't going to stay even close to the books, and I wasn't really going to invest that much time in it. Craig, I'm hoping the Guard show on BBC based on Discworld is decent. I hope so. It's based on the book Guards?
It's the one that we talked about. How
Yeah.
they made the legionary a woman.
Oh, yeah, there are gonna be some changes to
And
that.
Sybil's like in the 20s or.
Yeah, I don't know. You may be disappointed, Craig. I've heard some changes that they did to the books. We'll see. I'll just say they've taken some serious creative license with that. So we'll see. Um, Yeah, see, that's what you have to do. Davina's saying a lot of things are decent if you look at them independently, but as a film series of the books, they can suck. It's usually better if the original author is involved. That's what was good about Good Omens. Even though Sir Terry had been gone, Neil Gaiman was on that project, and that was like six episodes, I think. Good Omens,
4 6.
6 episodes. But the first of all, the casting was perfect. Getting David Tennant and the other, I don't remember the other actor's name who played the angel, but getting David Tennant was a coup. But getting the other actor was the perfect foil to David Tennant. I think I'm gonna watch that again because it was just really so good. But the fact that you could have Neil Gaiman on the show, I'm sure that gave the writers some excellent input into how these characters would work. What, and even Neil Gaiman, because I'm watching the masterclass, said he had to rewrite a few scenes to make it work for the show. You couldn't if you don't have the author, see, and that's why. Yeah, Davina goes into some of the changes, Craig. Yeah. Yeah, Chris is the same thing. I saw Dresden as a detective show with a wizard, as opposed to a fantasy show with a detective, which is the way I try to do Montien, Simon, and the Richard Caro thing that I'm doing. Yeah, as long as the feel fits, and it's hard. They've done a lot of Terry Pratchett over years. Not all of it has been good because it's hard to get Terry right in a screen because there's just so much nuance in Terry's writing. Uh, I like that. Chris says instead of a Monty morning, it turned out to be a Simon Magic Missile Day. Yeah, that's usually how days begin and then evolve. Yeah. Good morning, Matthew. I saw you joined the test really quick, but thank you for making it. We got like 20 minutes, so. Yes, Mark. Tammy is here, and whatever it was, you did do it, and Tammy will have words with you later. Oh, Darren says they gave up after 2 seasons for Shannara. I think they should have. Yeah. I mean, in a situation like that, it's best to cut your losses and just say, okay, no, we're not going to continue doing this because it's not working. Or the fans are probably like, hey, no, this isn't. Good Omens was fantastic. If you haven't seen Good Omens, um, read the book, but really watch the show. Like, it's a 6 episode series. It's one of the few series that was really done well and close to the book itself. It was just really well done. Writing is so crisp. It's as close as you're gonna get to like having Sir Terry there. It was very well done. Michael Sheen, yes, that's the angel. Thank you. Yes, yeah. Tennant and Sheen were fantastic in that book, and Tennant as the devil, as a demon, he really stole. I mean, Sheen had his moments, but Tennant stole that series. You know, and so right. I haven't seen Mark. I haven't seen Going Postal or Hogfather. Um, there's so much material to do for Satari, but you have to do it right, and it's hard to convey some of the like everyone has images in their minds of like carrot and vines, so it's hard to kind of find the right actors to fit the imagery that Terry was trying to get across. Like Sybil was a rotund woman, right? She was big. Yeah, she was a little older. She's middle aged. She's rotund. But she makes a kind of like a perfect as a character. She's a perfect complement to Vimes, who you see as this kind of big burly guy. And so it kind of makes sense. And I think in the show she's made thin and young, and so there's a disconnect there. So if you go to the show from the books, you're gonna be disappointed. If you just go to the show, you may not be because you're viewing it kind of separately. Yeah, Davina says I can't deal with Going Postal. It has the word moist too much. Yeah. I haven't seen it. I definitely read it, but I haven't seen it. And I didn't. I don't think I even saw Hogfather. So yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see, Craig, what they actually do with the story. We'll see. I know that. So in some of the questions that Audrey asked is like, is there one movie based on a book that is better than the book in your opinion? It's tough. For me, I think it's always the book is better because you have more real estate. You have more mental real estate. You've got more time. Even a book that's fantastic has to be distilled to an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. If you have a huge budget and a really well-known director, and maybe 2.5 hours to 3 hours, but even then, you're not gonna capture everything that's in the book. Something's gonna be left out. And then also understand that the casting is important. So everyone has an image of what the character looks like, but if you put it in a film, all of a sudden you're narrowing it to this is what the character looks like. And for a lot of people, that's it right there. That's the deal breaker because in their head they're like, nope, the character that I saw in my head when I read this story did not look like that. That was the person watching the series, the movie, whatever, because they're thinking, no, this is how I imagine this character. And so, yeah, it's tough. I think it's tough. I don't know if I've seen a movie that supersedes or that surpasses the book. I don't think so. I'll have to really think about it, Audrey, but I don't think so. I don't think I've seen one where I said, "Wow, that was better than the book." Yeah. Oh, you know what? Maybe anything by William Gibson, because William Gibson, if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. But William Gibson was kind of like the father of cyberpunk, and his books are basically LSD trips. And so when they actually bring his books to film, they make more sense. So like Johnny Mnemonic was a good movie, even though Keanu Reeves was in it. He was just starting out, but it was a good. William Gibson's Neuromancer. I don't think you could really make it into a good movie because the concepts in the story is it's too hard to express to convey. So when they make a book based on his when they make a movie based on his book, it actually is always better than the book because it's just too convoluted as a book. But the movie kind of distills it. Yeah. Yeah, Davina, I'm like you, and I'm just too attached to Discworld to accept anything that isn't just right. And I've read all the Discworld books, so it's like, yeah, if you don't get it right, it's not gonna happen. And so maybe that's what's happening with other authors too. Yeah. Schindler's List, Jenny. Yeah, that was an excellent movie. That was an excellent movie. But I never read the book, so I can't say. But that Liam in the lead role and Spielberg doing the yeah, that was an excellent movie. It was really well done. When I finished watching Schindler's List, I was tired because I felt like I was in the time, which is it's a good feeling. I mean, I was exhausted. I was like, oh my god, and it felt like it was so long, and it really wasn't. But you get so into the story that you get physically tired. You're like, oh my, this is what this person went through, what the country went through, what these people went through. So I've always this is what I tell my daughters like the character in your head, like Chris is saying, I like the character in my head. The imagination is always better than the movie. When you watch a movie, you're watching someone's interpretation of an imagination. In other words, you're watching this person's interpretation, director's interpretation of the book. So you're watching their imagination. But when you read a book, it's your imagination, and usually your imagination is always much better than what someone tells you. This is what it looks like, or this is what he looks like. This is what she looks like. Especially if the author kind of describes it differently. Many authors don't go into much detail. I tend not to go into so much detail, but I know what Simon looks like. I know what Monty looks like. I know what Sepia looks like. I know what all the characters look like. So if someone were to say, okay, now Monty's going to be a short, dumpy fellow with glasses, I'll be like, who? It wouldn't work for me, you know. So yeah. Yeah, Audrey. William Gibson is the last book I read of William Gibson ago, and it nearly exploded my brain because it's just he's just so ahead of his time. If you haven't read William Gibson, start with Neuromancer and work your way through his stuff. He's really good. He's just really complicated. Yeah. Yeah, Dolly says her Terry Pratchett's Discworld is sacred to me. I started reading it at 16, and each book is its own masterpiece. Anything being done to it is heresy. I'm kind of in the same camp. If you're gonna take Sir Terry Pratchett book and try to make something out of it, you have to be so spot on. Most Pratchett readers are that way though. So yeah, let's see. I have not read Discworld. Jenny, go read Discworld. That's all I can tell you. I'm not even gonna tell you. So you start with the Color of Magic and go from there. You're not gonna get many of the references strong if you don't read Discworld. Yeah. After you read The Color of Magic, make room in your Kindle because you're gonna want every other Terry Pratchett Discworld book. Jenny. So go read The Color of Magic. Yeah. Yeah, Cynthia, it's like that too. Sometimes, I think it all depends on how you are as a reader. If you're a really visual reader, like some people read the words and they create these images in their head, most movie adaptations are going to fail you because if you are very visual, you're going to create everything, the setting, the scene, the characters, the world, and no director can kind of come close to that. It's hard because it's your imagination. You could create everything there. Now, if you're not that kind of reader, then maybe an adaptation will work for you. But here's the thing: most readers have very, very active imaginations. That's why they're readers. So that's how it is. Yeah, what Diane is saying, you have so much good reading ahead of you. Really, I mean, and I always recommend Soteric. But if you want to write, you want to read really smart writing, really funny writing, and really insightful writing, you read Sir Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman too. But I would read Sir Terry first because he kind of just encapsulates all of that. He is the gold standard kind of genre of writing. And when I say genre, I mean really smart, intelligent, tongue-in-cheek kind of humor that you read it and you get 3 pages down and you go, oh, that's what he meant, and it's kind of hits you because it's very, very offhanded and it's very subtle. And yeah, his characters are incredible and his writing's fantastic. What else do we have? Did I miss some things? Oh, um, so I'm looking for. I'm having a new artist. I'm still in the process of. I gotta go over some stuff with Dolly. Relia, she's gonna do some new art for Monty Strong. I think I put up the portrait of one of her characters in the mob. She's really talented. I found her on Twitter, and I like to sometimes find these artists. Like the same way I found Mona Finden. She was on Instagram. Both of them were Instagram. I saw the art and I was like, wow, let me reach out and see if they will do art for Monty and Strong. And Rely just get back to me right now. Daria doesn't know this. I'm gonna send her the email, but she got back to me now with a price list, and it's really affordable. She's really talented, and I'm excited to see what she would create with Monty and Strong. So that's one of the next things that's on the project. So let's go to these questions because we got like 10 minutes left. If you could meet, Audrey asks, are there more questions? Oh, okay, great. If you have questions, this is the time to ask it because Dolly's writing them down and getting them to me. Welcome, Robert. Let's see. Audrey asks, if you could meet any writer from any time or place, who would it be and what would be your first question? Wow. Don't ask the hard questions, Audrey, really. Um, okay, I cannot narrow it down to one writer. I'm going to narrow it down to an influential one, which is Tolkien. And I know that's probably the cliche answer, but the reason I would want to sit down and speak with him is not so much because of Lord of the Rings, even though that would obviously be one of the subjects. It would be more because of the Inklings and what the conversations were like when he got together with C.S. Lewis and the other authors and what they would do. The Inklings still exist now, and I think they're in Cambridge, the school in Cambridge. Um, but I would want to know how he got along and what spurred him to create The Lord of the Rings. So not so much the actual source material, not so much the book itself or the story, but how did you get from where you were to I'm going to create this story? Because if you think about it, it's very much like Excalibur, which I mentioned recently yesterday. This is Excalibur and Merlin and Arthur have been around for I want to say about 1,000 years, 500 to 1,000 years. So if you're writing a story and your story is going to last for 1,000 years, that's good, right? And so you want to kind of touch upon what is it that makes these stories last? What are the of the story like in terms of let's say Lord of the Rings? It's this good versus evil, but it drills it down and brings it to a micro level. it's not so much good versus evil just on a grand scale, but now it's the good and evil inside a hobbit. Like, is he going to, you know, succumb to the ring? Is he going? Is he not going to? And so things like that. And why did he make the choices that he made? And what did he mean by "fly, you fools"? Because the eagles were there. They could have just flown to Mordor, you know. So things like that. There are a lot of questions I would ask him like that. So Davina says, yeah, I'm in a couple FB groups where someone will mention a reference or a joke, and I'm like, oh my god, I missed that one. That's and that's the way it is. I mean, you constantly discover things with him. Heinlein in the multiverse theory, yes. Oh, Chris, yeah, definitely, Craig Heinlein. Okay, so let's just say every sci-fi author that exists, I would want to talk to because, and we'll start with Asimov and go from there. But every single one, yeah, and I think all the authors that wrote alongside Tolkien, the fantasy authors that wrote alongside Tolkien, definitely, yeah, and Vonnegut for sure. See, the list is just too long, Audrey. It's a really, really long list. I'd have to have like an author conference and then be able to have days with each one. Chris wants to know, has anyone bought a skateboard deck yet? Yes, Chris, someone bought a skateboard deck and we're waiting for the picture. So if you're the one who bought the skateboard deck, do like Cynthia did and post the picture of you with WAG. Thank you. Bradbury. See, these authors are coming to me. So Ray Bradbury would be another one that I would love to sit down and talk to. Like, let's just discuss Fahrenheit 451. That would be awesome. Pratchett, that goes without saying. So, I don't think my brain could handle meeting Terry Pratchett. Yeah, I think you'd, like you, Davina, I'd be fanboying. So, that'd be like, there would be no coherent words coming out of my mouth. It'd be like, yeah. So, like, I always marvel at how, I mean, think of the honor that Neil Gaiman got to write a book with Sir Terry Pratchett, Good Omens. That they got to write a book together. Like, what was that like? Just sitting down, because Neil is an accomplished author in his own right, obviously, or else, he wouldn't have been able to write this book with Pratchett. But could you imagine what the pitch sessions were and the ideas and how funny that must have been, how crazy and how outlandish both of them, because they both have this really wry sense of humor, how insane it must have been to be if you could sit in and just listen to them discuss, this is how we're going to write Good Omens, and let's say this and let's have this character do that. That would be that would be wow, just amazing, you know. But yes, like you, Davina, I would be fanboying. I wouldn't be able to have a coherent conversation. I will, Cynthia. I've seen part of it. Cynthia says watch the biopic about Tolkien. Yeah, it's a really good one, and I've seen parts of it, but I have to watch the rest of it. Jenny says I am odd. I would want to meet the first person to ever put words on the page and thank them. You'd have to go way, way back, Jenny, for that one. Audrey says, I just had to explain red shirts to my husband. For those of you that haven't seen the mob yet, I don't know who posted it. I know someone. I think it might have been RC. Someone posted a shirt, a picture, an image of Spock, Kirk, and McCoy all on a planet with masks. There's a fourth guy, unknown, wearing a red shirt, and he has no mask. That image says it all. So, but yeah, red shirts. I tell you, Gene Roddenberry had a really interesting sense of humor. But see, Scotty is a red shirt, and Scotty is a badass because Scotty, he survived to the end. Let's see. The problem with meeting someone, Davina says, the problem with meeting someone from the past or someone famous is that they probably won't live up to your image of them, and it get ruined for you. Yeah, we always have this kind of, I we have this kind of fantasy image of what we think these people were like, and they probably had, like everyone, their own eccentricities, and they might have been horrible people in real life, and we have this kind of imagery of them. So sometimes it's the saying, don't meet your heroes because you're always disappointed, and so yeah. Yeah, Craig says, imagine getting knighted for your stories. Imagine that. You're writing stories and you can become a knight. You get knighted for the stories, for the contribution that yours made to the world. That's pretty intense. Laura, have a great rest of the day. Please take care of your hand. Take meds if you need to, but rest the hand. No writing, no typing. Jenny says, it goes to show how tough Scotty is. Listen, the toughest character on that series, on that show, is Scotty. Because he's the one that gets the Enterprise to do things that no ship could ever do. When Kirk says, I need more power, Scotty says, I'm giving it all, Captain. And yet, somehow, he managed to get warp 9.5 out of the Enterprise. Or he just manages to get the dilithium crystals tuned just right to get that extra burst of power to the shields to protect them at the last clutch moment. Scotty is like the coolest character on that show. You kidding me? Yeah, and he's a red shirt. Chris Carter. Um, See that writing. So to me, if I could read, if I could meet, if we're gonna go to that kind of writing, I would want to meet all the golden era comic book writers. So we're talking like um, the Bob Kanes, the Stiegel, and the one other person who created Superman, Jim Lee, um, just the guys who created all the iconic characters and who wrote them. Jim Byrne, even Frank Miller, who's still with us, but he's very hard to just. I can't just go up. Hey, Frank, let's have a. Um, so, yeah, those are characters that I'd like to meet. Let's see. We have one more question because it's go. Oh, Audrey wanted to know: do I meditate? I haven't meditated in a while, virus and all that crazy stuff that's going on in the world. But I do have a meditation practice that I have to get back to, and I usually meditate for 15 minutes a day and just sit. And that comes from the martial arts, though. So I have other forms of meditation. There's also moving meditation that I do, and but meditation is important. I don't meditate to write. I meditate to kind of just shut down the noise in my head every so often, which is good. But yeah. So we are. Time went by really fast. Okay, bye Sharon. We gotta go too. It's already time to go. Sharon says I gotta go. Take care. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm saying the same thing. We gotta go. I want you all to take care. Listen, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Please do not get complacent with this. When you go outside, wear your mask. If you go outside, maintain your social distance. Don't fall into this whole it's summer, it's beautiful outside, it's wonderful. There's still a pandemic going on. This country is going through spikes. We're hitting records that we haven't hit before since the beginning of the pandemic because the country reopened too soon and parts of the country reopened too soon. It was like 14 states, now it's like 24 states, and probably this, I haven't seen the news, but at this point it's probably like 30 something states. So please be careful when you go out. Um, Wear your mask if you have to go out, can't social distance. But if you avoid it, go out, do what you gotta do, stock up if you need to, and don't go out as much. Try to space it out. Stay healthy, stay indoors if you can. It's really important. And I want you to have a great 4th of July. Use at this time. I'm in Virginia, chilling in a pool, just relaxing in water. Like, oh. So, and I'm not there this year because of everything that's happening. So don't forget to follow on Instagram. We're at Bitten Peaches. Um, the link, the Bitten Peaches link. I'll have to look it up. I'll put the link up on the mob. Bitten Peaches on YouTube. We're at Bitten Peaches Storyteller. So follow us there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on any platform that you're on. And have a weekend and be excellent. And our next one will be on the 17th. Our next Cafe Clutch will be on the 17th. So stay safe, be healthy, and be excellent. Bye.